February 14th, 2014, Bali, Indonesia. While much of the world celebrated love, 7 Japanese women slipped beneath the waters of paradise. What began as a calm dive under a golden sky would unravel into one of the most haunting survival stories in modern diving history. The group consisted of 5 tourists: Ritsuko Miyata, Emi Yamamoto, Nahomi Tomita, Aya Morizono, and Atsumi Yoshinobe, guided by 2 instructors, Shoko Takahashi and Saori Furukawa. All were trained divers familiar with open water procedures. Takahashi was known for her steady, gentle authority underwater, capable of reading the sea's moods with a glance. Furukawa, younger but confident, was the kind of guide whose smile calmed nerves before a descent. Their destination was Crystal Bay, off Nusa Penida, a dreamlike sight where manta rays drift through columns of sunlight and coral gardens shimmer beneath the waves. But this beauty comes with danger. The bay sits beside a natural funnel where tides from the Pacific and Indian Oceans collide, creating unpredictable downcurrents capable of dragging divers hundreds of feet in moments. That morning, the sea looked serene. At 10 a.m., their small dive boat left port. The women adjusted wetsuits and checked gauges. Sunlight scattered across the surface like shards of glass. They had already completed 2 flawless dives earlier in the day. Before the 3rd descent, Takahashi reminded them, "The current can change quickly here. Stay close. Ascend together." No one knew how prophetic those words would become. As they descended, the ocean seemed to welcome them. Light filtered down in shifting sheets. Bubbles drifted like silver beads toward the surface. Fish wove through coral heads, unbothered. One diver later described it as a moment so peaceful it felt unreal. But peace in the ocean can vanish without warning. Above them, dark clouds gathered, a fast-building storm cell that no one noticed from below. After 45 minutes, they began their planned descent. Surfacing, they expected to see their boat waiting. Instead, there was nothing, only rolling waves and a horizon darkening under storm clouds. Their captain had drifted away. Reports later suggested he left to avoid bad weather or refuel, ignoring the most basic safety rule: never abandon divers underwater. The women signaled frantically. Furukawa launched a flare, a red arc swallowed by rain. Whistles and shouts disappeared in the wind. Then the sea shifted. A powerful downcurrent gripped them, dragging them under in an instant. Orientation vanished. Bubbles twisted sideways. The roar of water drowned out everything. Even the instructors struggled to control buoyancy as panic rippled through the group. Hands reached out in the swirling chaos, searching for something stable, but there was nothing except current and darkness. When the ocean finally relented, they surged back to the surface, gasping. But now they were far from Crystal Bay, swept into the unpredictable Lombok Strait. Lightning cracked overhead, rain lashed their faces. Daylight faded into a cold, churning night. Still, they held together. 7 silhouettes in the vastness, using fins as paddles and tanks as flotation, trying to stay calm as exhaustion crept in. Hours passed slowly. Some floated on their backs to conserve strength. Others prayed. By midnight, hallucinations took hold. Lights that weren't there, voices carried on wind that wasn't real. By dawn, more than 18 hours had passed. Then, on the horizon, they spotted a shape. A tugboat. Hope flickered. Furukawa began swimming toward it, her arms slicing through the water. The others watched, shouting encouragement. But the waves were stronger than she was. The distance never closed. Within minutes, she vanished again into the vastness. The remaining 6 drifted until sharp rocks rose ahead. A reef. Gathering their last scraps of strength, they pushed toward it. Each stroke burned. Eventually, their hands found stone. They dragged themselves up, collapsing in exhaustion, bleeding and trembling. But the ocean was not finished. A surge slammed over the reef, ripping Takahashi and Miyata from their footing. Takahashi had been helping Miyata climb, holding her hand. Witnesses said she refused to let go. Even as the current dragged them both away, disappearing into the sea, they had dedicated their lives to exploring. The 4 survivors endured 3 more days on that reef. They collected rainwater in their masks, suffered blistering sunburns, and spoke softly about home and the hope of seeing their loved ones again. Each tide came with the same question: would rescue arrive, or would this be their final day? On the third day, a fisherman spotted movement. Authorities were alerted, and rescue boats arrived shortly after.
5 of the 7 Japanese divers who went missing in Indonesia on Friday were found alive on Monday.
The women were barely conscious, their lips cracked with dehydration, eyes swollen, but alive. Elsewhere, a helicopter crew located Furukawa, clinging to a distant outcrop. Her dive computer later revealed she had drifted more than 20 kilometers. She was airlifted to safety, weak but awake. 5 survivors, 2 lost. The story gripped both Indonesia and Japan. Families rushed to Bali as search teams deployed helicopters, sonar, and patrol boats. 2 days later, Miyata's body washed ashore on Bali's eastern coast. Evidence suggested she had survived for over a day before succumbing to exhaustion. Weeks later, fishermen in East Java found human remains over 120 miles away. DNA confirmed they belonged to Shoko Takahashi. Investigators quickly turned their attention to the captain. His decision to leave the dive site during unstable weather had been catastrophic. GPS data contradicted his claims of staying nearby, and he was charged with criminal negligence. For the diving community, the tragedy forced sweeping reforms: mandatory GPS trackers, emergency radios, surface flares, and new training on escaping down currents, a topic rarely addressed before this incident. But for the survivors, no rule change could undo what they endured. One later said quietly, "The ocean gave us peace and beauty, then it took everything away." Today, Crystal Bay still draws thousands of divers. Its waters remain beautiful, yet locals still point to the horizon when storms roll in and say, that's where the Japanese divers were taken. Every year, more than 100 divers worldwide are caught in down currents. Some survive by chance. Others disappear without a trace. The Bali tragedy endures as a stark warning. Nature is indifferent to skill, experience, or confidence. Even in paradise, the ocean demands respect. Because when it turns against you, there is no negotiation, only the vast, cold silence of the deep. And when you stand on a shore watching the sunlight shimmer across the waves, remember, every paradise has a shadow. And sometimes the most beautiful places on Earth are also the most deadly.